Citizens, greetings to you. You're watching News Central now on News Central Television with me, Blessings Musugu. The top stories of this hour. Tinubu commiserates with U.S. over death of former president. Delay as prosecution counsel requests more time to prepare for arguments. Ethiopia's road accident death toll rises to 71, others injured. We've got the details in a moment. And now to the main stories. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu has extended his condolences to the U.S. governor and the people on the passing of former President Jimmy Carter, who died at 100. President Tinubu praised Carter's legacy, saying he showed how to remain relevant and impactful after leaving office. According to Tinubu, Carter was a beacon of service to humanity, dedicating his post-presidency to peace, democracy, and eradicating tropical diseases. Now, President Tinubu fondly recalled Carter's contributions to Nigeria, particularly his efforts to eradicate guinea worm disease and river blindness. He also reflected on Carter's historic 1978 visit to Nigeria, which marked a pivotal moment in U.S.-Africa relations. Now, Carter rose from a peanut farmer to become president in 1977, before being forced out of the White House after just one four-year term when Ronald Reagan stormed to victory in the next election. Now, after leaving the White House with low approval ratings, his reputation was restored through humanitarian work, which earned him the Nobel Peace Prize. James L. Carter Jr. was born on the 1st of October 1927 in the small town of Plains, Georgia, the eldest of four children.
This is a sad day, but it brings back an incredible amount of good memories. Today, America and the world, in my view, lost a remarkable leader. I think that what Jimmy Carter is an example of is just simple decency. Simple decency. And I think that's what the rest of the world looks to America for. The rest of the world looks to us. And he was worth looking to. Today's world, some look at Jimmy Carter and see a man of a bygone era. With honesty and character, faith and humility, it mattered. But I don't believe it's a bygone era. I see a man not only of our times, but for all times. Someone who embodied the most fundamental human values we can never let slip away. Although sometimes.
Still on Carter's death, to further discuss this, I'm joined now by AJK Okpa, Global Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much, AJK, for joining us.
Thank you for having me early in the morning. It's 5 a.m. my time in Dallas.
Good afternoon to you from over here. Now, AJK, I mean, it's a global affair, and as a global affairs analyst, how do you assess Jimmy Carter's legacy on the world stage, particularly in terms of his commitment to human rights, to democracy, and to conflict resolution in general?
Thank you for such a question. Jimmy Carter has and was the kind of president that I've always liked, because when he left office, he remained relevant. He didn't get so much into the politics like we have former presidents do now. He traveled the world, and part of it was, to spread the value of democracy and commit to things like you say, guinea worm, and so many other things that former American president never did. And he was one person that in 1978, I think he visited Nigeria, and he kept coming back to Nigeria. I think even after the World Cup in 1994, there was something, he came in and he went to Abakaliki, and, part of a medical mission on this public health issue. And then in America, he was committed to building homes. Habitat for Humanity was a program that it was strongly identified with him, and that was going into poor neighborhoods and participating and in actually building homes, because apart from being a farmer, he was also a carpenter. He made chairs. So, I've always liked him for that, and I was fortunate to meet him. But I will show you on the screen, I happen to be one person that has a paperweight that has a signature on it, and when I went to the center in Georgia, So I have that liking to him because he never played whether it was, of course he's a Democrat, but he saw things from the humanistic point of view and he made himself available. So he died at the age of 100 plus, and no other American former president ever made that mark. And that's remarkable. So he was very relevant up until a few years ago when, of course, the wife, got sick and passed, and himself, when he reached that age of 90 something, most people are not able to physically be available.
Right. Speaking of lessons from his successes and failures, now we know that Jimmy Carter's presidency was marked by significant foreign policy challenges that included the Iran hostage crisis and, of course, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. How do you think that his experiences during this period that I mentioned shaped his approach to international relations that we so speak of today?
Well, when you're in office, you are in the public eye, and everything you do becomes, a critical things to be looked upon and comment for, against. So, the and it was a big mark on him. And because of how that thing turned out was why, Reagan came in 1980 and beat him. And since then, he just he went into retirement, he left office, but he remained relevant. So, no president is going to go without, the pluses and minuses of that office. But Jimmy Carter, I wouldn't say he lost, he didn't win the second term, but most presidents served the one term, but he was gracious in, losing, and then he still was very relevant. And that has left a mark, has left something for most people, to say, hey, I would like to be like Jimmy Carter. But sometimes when you say it and you're a Democrat, or, a Republican, people look at you, really. But, that is, by the way, now he's gone and his legacy will live forever. And the students of politics and history are now going to go back and look at his presidential papers, look at life in the White House and life after White House, and begin to write their own, stories or theories about what he did right and what he did wrong.
Right. Before I ask my third question, I see that you were trying to show us something, an award perhaps. What was that about, and how's that related to Jimmy Carter? If I can see it again, if you don't mind.
Well, it's a paperweight. It's a paperweight that has the presidential seal, and then his signature carved on it. This was when I went to the Carter Center in Georgia, and I happened to stumble onto him and meet him at the center, which normally is not typical. And I mentioned to him I'm from Nigeria and that I had just finished high school when he came to Nigeria in 1978. And he was, oh, really? And then asked me, what tribe. I say I'm Igbo and all that other stuff. And then he looked around and said, oh, it's nice to meet you. And then he handed me the paperweight. And I was like, oh, my God, so here I am. It's on my desk. I cherish the fact that I met him purely by accident. And, that memory has lived on. And, talking about his influence, most people probably may not know, Jimmy Carter is credited to have influenced Obasanjo, to leave Dodan Barracks, back then they didn't call that name, now they say Aso Rock. But he was credited as being responsible in influencing Obasanjo to leave office in 1979. Because Obasanjo had met him, Obasanjo came to the White House in 1977, and then he reciprocated by hosting Obasanjo in 1978. So, typically now they would not, American president would not receive military head of state, but he did it. And that's why that relationship was, formed. Andrew Young, was the African-American gentleman who was a U.S. ambassador to UN. And he also has some role in that, and that, formed the relationship that Obasanjo has with Andrew Young. If you remember, in 1999, when Obasanjo became president-elect, I met Obasanjo in Georgia, March of 1999, as president-elect, and I attended his inauguration, May 1999, and what is his name? Andrew Young was there because of that relationship was started about 20-something years ago.
Right.
So, if there's any former American president that has visited Nigeria and had that interest in Nigeria, it was Jimmy Carter. And Obasanjo and him became very close because of the relationship, through Andrew Young.
Okay, AJK, I'm glad you mentioned that he was actually instrumental to Obasanjo's handing over in 1979, because not a lot of Africans know about that. But we have to move on very quickly. So my final question to you before we let you go. As the first U.S. president to prioritize human rights as a central tenet of American foreign policy, Jimmy Carter's influence can still be seen in, contemporary global affairs. What impact do you think that his legacy will continue to have on U.S. foreign policy as well as international relations in the years to come?
Well, I mean, there's no time limit on that because, again, what do people look for? People want peace. People want democracy. People want successful transition of power. And if there's anybody who's supposed to get that credit, it's Jimmy Carter, because he did it with military heads of states. He went to countries, when he was president, and after that, most American president. I think he visited more countries than any other, president in office or former president. And what did he do? Either he went in for election integrity or election assessment. Whether those things led to successful elections in the country that was visited is up in the air for anybody to, give a plus or minus. But he was one person who was willing to show up, when needed, and he made his comments and offered his assistance. And if that led to, a positive outcome, he gets the credit. If he doesn't, again, he gets the credit. But oftentimes a visit doesn't mean, the country visited is going to be successful. It's up to the country that, received him to see what he said and see how they can, import some values in order to help their own local issues.
Right. Okay. Global Affairs Analyst Ejike Okpa, thank you so much for joining us. And we can very well see the impact that Jimmy Carter has had, not just on the U.S., but also on African countries as well. Thank you for joining us to discuss his life and time.
Thank you for having me and keep me awake every day.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, very quickly, before we go on a break, here's a story to expect. A not so slight delay between the IGP and Olamide as prosecuting counsel requests more time. Stay with us. This story and more after the break. Many thanks for staying with us. Now let's go to a case that has caught many's attention. The case between Olamide Thomas and the Inspector General of Police has hit a speed bump as the counsel representing the IGP requested 24 hours to prepare for arguments on the defendant's bail application. Now, Olamide Thomas, whose video went viral for allegedly cursing Sheyi Tinubu's, the son of Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, and the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, during the 4th anniversary of the #EndSARS movement against police brutality, is facing charges of cyberbullying and 3 other related offences. Earlier, our correspondent Joshua Imurai had a chat with legal counsel to Olamide Thomas, Seprebofa Oyege.
The matter came up today before Honorable Justice Emeka Nwite, and ordinarily the business of today was supposed to be for our motion for bail of the applicant, that's Olamide Abiodun Thomas. You will recall that the matter came up last on the 20th of December 2024, being a Friday. We informed that was the day the matter, the defendant was arraigned. And despite that it was a Friday and the proceedings was concluded a little bit late, we informed the court that we are going to prepare, file, and serve our motion for bail on the prosecutor that same day, 20th December. And we lived to our word. We were able to prepare, file, and serve the said motion since 20th. In line with the court's directive, because on the last adjourned day, the court said if we file our motion for bail, it will even give us an earlier date, because today was supposed to be for commencement of trial.
We're now joined by our correspondent Joshua Imurai, who was present in the courtroom to observe the proceedings, and is joining us live from the FCT to discuss what transpired in court. Joshua, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Very quickly, you were speaking to us on Jasiri earlier, and I remember you telling him to translate the legal jargon for the ordinary man to a more comprehensive language. So very quickly, can you summarize what the delay is before I proceed to my next question?
Olamide, the defendant here appeared before Honorable Justice Emeka Nwite this morning, where he was to be here bail applications. Unfortunately for her, the prosecuting counsel said that he just received the papers this morning, as he has not prepared for his argument against the bail application being made by the counsel representing the defendant. He actually asked the court to grant him a 24-hour time frame to prepare for the argument so they can come back to the court tomorrow. This did not go down well with the counsel representing the defendant, as he outrightly stated that the fact that he said he received the papers this morning was erroneous and not to be taken with high-heartedness. The justice did not fail to reprimand the prosecutor, who he warned that such case and such matter and such occurrences would not be tolerated regarding this case so far. Speaking with him, he actually complained that he was hoping to take his client home today after perfecting bail conditions. He was actually setting his eyes on the ball that today his client will be granted bail, but this is just one of the bureaucracies that we meet in public offices that holds Nigerians' sway and back. That is what happened in court this morning.
Here's what people are concerned about. Reprimanding the opposing counsel seems a little bit as a light penalty for allegedly, that alleged oversight. And my question is, because there are speculations that this might be somewhat intentional as a way to delay the bail hearing that was obviously filed and submitted. So is there any other motion that can be filed by the defending counsel regarding this supposed oversight, or are they just going to let it lie?
Well, so far, all I know is nothing can be done, because my Lord, the Honorable Justice Emeka Nwite has already granted him the time frame of 24 hours with the refrain that it would not happen again. They've accepted with good faith, and the defense counsel, who outrightly stated that he was forced to accept it, seeing that there's no way on site for this case to go on without all these hiccups and speed bumps that we are seeing in court. We are hoping that tomorrow we hear the bail applications and we hear the argument from both lawyers representing the counsel, the defendants and the prosecuting counsel particularly, to hear their arguments and to see the ruling of the court on the bail conditions for Ms. Olamide, who is appearing in court today for the alleged causes rained on the president's son and the Inspector General of Police.
All right, Joshua Marai, thank you so much for bringing us the updates, and definitely we'll be looking to you to give us more information as this case unfolds. All right, that was our correspondent, Joshua Marai, reporting on the case from the FCT. Now, to more stories, no fewer than 19 casualties have been confirmed following airstrikes by the Nigerian Air Force on 2 communities in Sokoto State. The strike carried out on Christmas Day as Nigerian military targeted terrorists belonging to the Lakurawa terrorist group, allegedly hibernating the Gidan Sama and Rumtuwa communities. An attack claimed to have affected several innocent residents in the communities. Now, although the defense headquarters has denied targeting innocent civilians, residents of the community have dismissed these claims, calling for justice. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports live from Sokoto State.
A 2-hour journey on motorbikes from Wamako in Sokoto State to Gidan Sama, also called Gidan Bisa, and neighboring Rumtua in Silame local government area of the state. A journey not for the faint-hearted, through an area known to be infested with daredevil terrorists and bandits, exploiting hard-to-reach communities in the area, and usually a battleground for Nigerian military, attracting the firepower of its air component. The vast land in Sokoto North, a large forest big enough to host many countries, have been the enclave of these terrorists. Our investigation into the Christmas Day bombing of 2 communities believed to be hosting a new terror group in Nigeria, the Lakurawas, takes us through this dangerous path. They cheated us. We are really cheated in thousands because we don't know anything. In fact, this government, we don't know its use. We don't have any work apart from farming. We are not terrorists. Anyone involved in terrorism is known by the government. They said we keep dangerous weapons. Why can't they come and investigate? We are just on our own doing our farm work. We don't know anything else other than farming. We have never had any problems with anyone in court. Kill our livestock. Are you saying that after allegedly killing your people with bomb, others were shot on land? Wait a minute, how many people were allegedly killed by the bomb? 10 people. So you people were about to pick up the 10 bodies and were shot by land army? 13 persons. 3 are in the hospital, 10 death. Which hospital? 3 are in the hospital, 10 death. It was on Wednesday after morning prayers. We were just relaxing at home and we saw the fighter jets patrolling in the sky, going round. We now came out to start watching the fighter jet. Then all of a sudden the jet released a bomb. We don't know what we did. We have never seen a terrorist here. A Lakurawa man have never been here before. You mean no Lakurawa terrorists have ever come here before? Not at all. We have never seen them before. Though there was a time they came down there, we were told, but only those with farms around that axis can see them. And after narrating their ordeal, they took us to the graves of the 10 deceased, where they demand for justice for their families and loved ones. Neighboring communities who came to commiserate with the victims of the alleged Air Force bombing also support the claim that the two communities are not hosting the Lakurawa terrorist group. We are always with them, farming together, farming rice and millet. They are not troublemakers at all. From the loss of livestock to the loss of properties and, of course, human lives, the people of Rumtua village down there and then Gidan Sama village right here in Silami local government area of Sokoto State still await justice. In Sokoto State, Silami, Gidan Sama village. For News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
A very sad one there. That was a report put together by Emmanuel Bagudu, our correspondent in Sokoto State, on the alleged Sokoto bombing. Meanwhile, the Sokoto State government has commenced the distribution of relief materials to the two affected communities of Gidan Sama and Rumtua, targeted by the Nigerian Air Force during a Christmas Day bombing incident aimed at neutralizing members of the Lakurawa terrorist group. Now, while the state governor had promised the affected communities the sum of 20 million naira and 100 bags of grains to ease their suffering, News Central Television spoke to a member of the distribution team on ground in the communities.
Mutare Bello kai ne waye?
Vigilante O2.
Vigilante O2 na wanda gari?
Na gunduma gandi.
Na gunduma gandi. So kai me aikin ka me za ka je yanzu?
Dama zan je gidan bisa ne inda wannan hadari ya
Okay, gidan bisa kenan na kusa ga gidan sama kenan.
Da runtuma.
Da rumtuwa. Okay, he's going to Gidan Bisa, of course, the Gidan Bisa forest and the Gidan Sama village. They are all the same name. Yeah. Of course, he's saying that he's going to deliver the properties being delivered by the governor. So kaya guda nawa kenan ga mana?
Wannan gero guda 30.
About 30 bags of millet.
Masara guda 30.
Of course, maize 30 bags.
Shinkafa dangote guda 40.
Of course, dangote bag 10 bags of 40 bags of rice ko?
Sai kuma miliyan 20 wadanda aka ba su a su rage radadi.
Amma miliyan 20 ba tare ka an ba ma ciyaman ko?
San ba ciyaman.
The 20 million, but 20 million is not here with him in the bush. He's inside with the governor, is in the chairman, is the chairman's place.
Local government chairman.
Local government chairman, the Silami local government. Abubakar Getara is the chairman of Silami local government. He's in possession of the 20 million naira given by the governor of Sokoto State, Governor Aliyu, and of course 2 million naira kumako.
2 million
naira also given to the governor to give to those who are going to share the palliative, so that they will not tamper with. Of course, so they won't tamper with the 20 million naira.
Still on the matter, earlier on in the day, our correspondent Emmanuel Bagudu joined us from Sokoto to give insight on his findings during a visit to the affected communities.
We use motorbikes from Wamako, local government, Wamako city center, up to those two communities, Rumtua and Ginasama village. Very, very difficult terrain. We're talking about an area fully, occupied, a vast land, hundreds of hectares, hundreds of square kilometers, hideouts, very dangerous hideouts. We are talking about a particular environment where the military have to use air power, not even land power. But we achieved that. We arrived at community and we heard their own side of the story. They made it clear to us they are not terrorists. The military Air Force jet, released a bomb in the community on Christmas morning. And of course, they said they are not terrorists. And of course, 10 of their community members were killed. 9 were killed, claimed 6 persons are currently in the hospital. Which, we had a very serious matter. A man called Umaru Dogo, who suffered the highest loss. He lost 6 of his family members, 1 wife and 5 children. The soldiers came, according to him, that's the gentleman talking, that the soldiers came and claimed that he's a member of Lakurawa and that he's been investigated. He challenged them to investigate him, such that they didn't see any arm, they didn't see any dangerous weapon with him, and of course, they went back.
All right, still on disasters, let's move a little away from the Sokoto incident and let's go to the Masaka fire. Some traders in Masaka, Nasarawa State, located in Karu local government area of the state, have called for an immediate investigation over the inferno that destroyed a significant portion of the market. And the fire, which ravaged major sections of the market, caused extensive damage to properties and goods valued at millions of naira. Our correspondent Joshua Imurai visited the scene and filed this report.
The popular Masaka market in Karo local government area of Nasarawa State, once a bustling hub for traders and consumers alike, has been reduced to ruins following a fire that broke out late Saturday. The inferno, which destroyed a significant portion of the market, has left traders devastated as they count their losses. Many lament that years of hard work and investment have all been lost to the flames.
May government help me. May they help me. I don't get anything. As I did, I get old women. My mother, where they help. She dey sick. I mean, they help her. They do everything. I mean, be breadwinner of the family. I don't get anything. I get 4 children. No helper unless God.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin. Allah ya kawo mana kaddara kasuwan Masaka ta kama wuta ran Juma'a da dare misalin karfe 10 na dare kuma muna neman taimako da Allah kuma ba wani ya so ya taimaka mana muna so taimako da Allah da ubangiji Annabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam Allah ya taimake mu dai Allah ya sare mana kasuwan da dawo yana take da muna neman taimako gurin Allah kuma manyan shugabannin mu Allah ya sare su ba mu goyon baya kasuwan nan da samu daurin gindiyar da kasuwan da dawo normal yana take da yau da fatan al'umma annabi su je jama'a kowanne su je.
Some traders, however, called on the state government to investigate the cause of the fire that razed down a significant portion of the market, alleging that there might be more to the incident than meets the eye.
We cannot say that this is electric. We cannot say that people are cooking inside the market. People are not cooking because the time the fire started, nobody was inside the market. But we cannot tell this is how the fire started. So my message to them is that they should look into this case.
Traders who lost their goods in the market fire have once again renewed calls for assistance following the devastating impact of the incident. They also say that the alternative marketplace provided by the state government is too expensive for them. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imurai.
It's time to go on a short break now, and when we come back, AFDB to release $2.2 billion agro-industrial fund to Nigeria from 2025. We have the details of this and more after the break. Join us again. Many thanks for staying with us in the news. Now, the African Development Bank, AFDB, is set to start releasing a $2.2 billion fund for the development of special agro-industrial process zones in Nigeria, SABs. Director General of AFDB Nigeria Office, Abdul Kamara, made this known during a media chat. Specifically from next year, 2025, he said, we will see contracts signed and mobilization and construction on site will start in some states. Of course, not all the states will start together, according to him. He said the money would be used for the development of agro-industrial hubs where processing will happen, aggregation centers, and agricultural transformation programs as well. The developmental economist said though the special agro-industrial process zones was approved by the AFDB board in 2021, the project is speaking up after startup delays attributed to several factors. Now, Rivers State Governor Simeola Fubara has called on his supporters to remain calm amidst recent political rhetoric from certain quarters, assuring them that the time for active politicking is yet to come. He said when the time is right, the people of the state will know who is who. Governor Fubara was speaking at the 7th anniversary of the kingship installation of Eze Kasidi Ikegbidi, a politician turned traditional ruler of the Akko people in Ahwada East local government area. The governor attributed his survival from the political antics to divine providence and noted that his administration continues to grow stronger despite the expectations of detractors. Now, he urged the people of Akko to embrace peace, emphasizing that development can only thrive in a harmonious environment.
Let's forget about the noise people are making. When the time is right, we will know who is who. So don't worry about anything. It is God that has led us from that day to today, and each day we get stronger and stronger. It is only God. We are not achieving this because of our strength or because we are boasting. It's because our strength is built in God. So we don't need to worry about what people are saying. Let the time come and we'll see how it will end. The most important thing is we must ensure that we live peacefully. Development can come to your kingdom. Development can come.
Now, the chairperson of the FCT chapter of the Nigerian Union of Journalists has tasked members of the union to show more dedication and commitment to the programs and activities of the union in a bid to foster unity among newsmen and provide support in times of need. The chairperson, Grace Ike, made this known during the distribution of about 600 bags of rice to members of the press at the council secretariat in Abuja in a bid to support journalists celebrate the Yuletide.
We are less than 1 month in office, and as you can see, we decided to hit the ground running. Like I earlier said, we did not wait for any handover notes. Nothing was given to us, but we chose to go out there to pursue, stuff for our members and to bring it back. What is driving this cause is because we have the interest of members at heart. So giving back to the society, giving back to humanity is all we are yearning for. And like we earlier said, we want to bring everybody, members of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, FCT, together and back to their union. Let them come and take back their union and participate in activities that belong to the union.
Now, coming up on the news, Ethiopia road accident death toll rises to 71. We have the details of this story and more after the break. Once again, thank you for staying with us. Now, the death toll from a road accident in southern Ethiopia has risen to at least 71. In a Facebook post late Sunday, the Sidama Police Commission Traffic Prevention and Control Directorate said that 68 males and 3 females are known to have died in the accident so far, citing Chief Inspector Daniel Sankura. The Police Commission said the incident occurred at around 5:30 p.m. local time when the vehicle plunged off a road and into a river. The post added that 2 others have sustained heavy physical injuries, but did not detail any further information about the number of passengers on board at the time of the incident. The accident occurred in Sidama State, some 300 kilometers south of the capital Addis Ababa, in the eastern zone in Bona Zuria Woreda. Now, vote counting has begun in Chad following Sunday's general election, hailed by the government as a key step towards ending military rule, but marred by low turnout and allegations of fraud. President Mohamed Idris Deby Itno, who has held power since his father's death in 2021, urged citizens to vote in what he described as a historic day. However, turnout was reported at just 52.37%, according to the ANG election agency. The opposition, which boycotted the election, was alleged widespread irregularities, including soldiers voting multiple times without identification. Now, opposition leader Success Masra claimed the boycott kept most voters at home. The government has framed the election as the final phase of a transition to democracy, but critics question its legitimacy, citing concerns over transparency and fairness. Let's head on now to stories outside the African continent. Sadly, South Korea is mourning 179 victims of its worst plane crash, with acting President Choi Sang-mong visiting a makeshift memorial near the crash site in Muan. Flags flew at half-mast on Monday as the nation began a 7-day mourning period. Investigators are probing why the Jeju Air Boeing 737-800 carrying 181 people from Thailand crash-landed and burst into flames. Meanwhile, only 2 flight attendants survived the tragedy. Authorities have, however, recovered the plane's black boxes, with initial findings pointing to a possible bird strike. Now, South Korea has launched a special inspection of all 101 Boeing 737-800s in operation, supported by U.S. investigators. Meanwhile, 141 victims have been identified through DNA and fingerprint analysis as grieving families await updates at Jeju Airport. Let's talk business now. The World Bank has disbursed $1.5 billion loan to Nigeria under the Reforms of Economic Stabilization to Enable Transformation Development Policy Financing Initiative. This disbursement, one of Nigeria's fastest, followed the federal government's implementation of critical reforms, including removing fuel subsidies and enacting tax policies. Approved on the 13th of June 2024, the loan was released in 2 tranches, $750 million in July and the second in November, tied to reform milestones. Now, in contrast, a parallel $750 million loan for the Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reforms Program has seen minimal disbursement, with only $1.88 million allocated so far. The swift release underscores Nigeria's commitment to reform-driven economic transformation. Still talking business, Nigeria's federal government has accused the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, of misappropriating 2.73 trillion naira in interest payments from Ways and Means Advances, a temporary loan facility to cover budget deficits. Now, according to the Auditor General's consolidated financial statement for 2021, the CBN allegedly retained these funds for its sole benefit, violating constitutional and financial regulations requiring such interest in return to the Consolidated Revenue Fund, CRF. Now, CRF's negative cash balance stood at 17.1 trillion naira, including 4.4 trillion naira in Ways and Means advances. The report also cited unauthorized overdrafts and overdrawn accounts across multiple agencies, highlighting serious irregularities in government fund management and raising accountability concerns. Still in business, Gemfields, Johannesburg Stock Exchange listed gemstone producer, has suspended operations at its Monpute Rugby mining site in northern Mozambique after an attempted invasion by approximately 200 individuals linked to illegal mining. The attackers damaged the mine village, looted a vocational training center, and set fire to external structures. Security forces responded, leading to the deaths of 2 individuals. The incident coincides with widespread violence in Mozambique following disputed election results, leaving nearly 250 dead and disrupting transport and business operations. The U.S. State Department has expressed concerns over significant electoral irregularities and called for institutional reforms. Meanwhile, opposition leader Venancio Mondlane has urged peaceful protests even as political tensions escalate. And to sports, Enugu Rangers earned a hard-fought 1-0 away victory over Niger Tornadoes in Minna thanks to Bashir Usman's 34th minute goal. This marks their second away win of the season. Rangers coach Fidelis Ilechukwu returned after guiding the Super Eagles B to 2025 CHAN qualification. In another match, Remo Stars extended their unbeaten run to 4 games with a 2-1 win over Aqua United. Shuaibu Ibrahim's early penalty was cancelled out by Kabiru Osoba before Tochukwu Michael's brilliant 81st minute free kick sealed the win. Remo Stars remain top of the table with 36 points from 19 matches, 3 points ahead of Rivers United, who have a game in hand. We're still talking sports. Nigerian National League has confirmed that its 2024-2025 season will resume on Saturday, the 4th of January 2025, after the Yuletide break. The league, which kicked off on November 30th in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, paused for the holidays after 3 weeks of exciting action. At the break, Abia Comets led Conference A, while newcomers Kun Khalifa FC dominated Conference B with 3 straight wins. Now, Wiki Tourists topped Conference C and Basira FC led in Conference D. NNL Chairman George Aluo says everything is set for the resumption, promising high standards and a deserving champion. A Chief Operating Officer Dr. Ayo Abdul Rahman commended the smooth start and urged clubs to gear up for the season ahead. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. We did tell you that Tinubu commiserates with U.S. over death of former president. We also mentioned delay as prosecuting counsel requests more time to prepare for arguments. And finally, Ethiopia's road accident death toll rises to 71, others injured. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, StarTimes, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Musugu.